All right, welcome back. My name's Robert here at the Tasco Center for Teen Technology, and I hope you're enjoying our classes on how to shoot better photography using your cell phone. We've been working on 9 different composition techniques, and on this episode we're going to address 3 new ones, probably the most creative and artistic ones actually. They are converging lines, lines and shapes, and mirroring. So let's jump right into converging lines. The definition of converging lines, if you ask a photographer, probably the first thing they're going to say is railroad tracks. If you were standing on the railroad tracks looking off into the distance, as the railroad tracks get farther and farther away, they'll get closer and closer, and that gives us the definition of converging lines. Now, if you're going to take a photograph of the railroad tracks to make converging lines, the one suggestion I'm going to have to you that we actually have in this photograph right here is that you square yourself up to be very symmetrical and accurate. Look at all 4 corners of your viewfinder and make sure that the lines start at the same location and end at the same location so that you're not off to the left or off to the right. Another example of that would be straight up architecture here. Streets, buildings, and it looks like we're underneath an overpass or a bridge here. And the architectural structure actually creates the converging lines. And as you can see, we're perfectly squared up, so we get the symmetrical effect of the converging lines. Now, nature can also create converging lines. Here we have our trees creating the converging lines. However, the trees were planted by man, but you can find converging lines in nature also. It's a real neat creative technique to use where you don't necessarily need a subject in your photograph. The converging lines become your subject. Next, we have lines and shapes. This is much more abstract. You can find lines and shapes anywhere. And our first photo right here is simply of the fence going around our baseball park out back. And as you can see, the lines and shapes create a pattern or a texture. It's quite interesting, and the lines and shapes, the abstractness of them themselves, become the subject. So there's not a real subject here. It's the abstract lines and shapes. And also, this kind of utilizes the composition techniques of both depth of field and converging lines. Here we have a fence. The fence looks like it's rounded fence, almost like a horse corral, and it creates a pattern. So the lines and shapes basically lend themselves to the pattern, and the pattern becomes your subject. And this one I really like. It looks like this is just some pieces of wood that are painted different colors, and they're just all kind of stacked up together in a random pattern. And a very unique, interesting picture. Again, with lines and shapes, it's very abstract art, and the abstract lines and shapes become your subject. There's not an actual subject on these photographs. Last but not least, we're going to move into mirroring. Mirroring is a really unique technique that you have to think about. Mirroring is not just shooting yourself or something in a mirror. The mirroring is the actual reflection. And the reflection could be created by a mirror, a window, ice, water, anything that's reflective. So our first photograph right here, which also incorporates the rule of thirds, is this kitten looking into the glass, or actually looking through the glass, but his reflection creates a mirroring effect. So here they use the glass on possibly a window or a sliding glass door to create the mirroring. You always need your subject and the reflection to get the technique of mirroring. Here we have some architecture. This is a building that also falls under the technique of balance, and the water creates a blurred reflection of the architecture, and you have a really nice mirroring technique there. I always like to show that mirroring can be found in nature also. This is Cathedral Rock out in Sedona, Arizona, and there was a small puddle of water on the rocks leading up to Cathedral Rock, and we were able to get the reflection of Cathedral Rock in the water for the mirroring technique. So those are the 3 techniques for this episode: converging lines, lines and shapes, and mirroring. I hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to seeing you in some of our future episodes, and we will see you then. Thank you.